Okay. Okay. Whew. Praying to the tech gods. Come on, Instagram. Do your thing. Okay. Yes. Yes. Third time lucky.
Yes.
Yes!
Yay! At last, technology will not empower us, or does
We
empower
did
us, I
it!
don't
Oh my God. Third time lucky, eh?
know. Oh, that's so funny. But
Oh,
can't
thank
cope
you
with
for
it.
hanging in
Oh
there.
no, it was fine. It's kind of, an old bat like me. It's all new technology to me. So I thought I was doing something wrong. I'm quite relieved I wasn't. So there you go. But
Oh, I'm glad we figured it out. Oh my God. That was stressing me
uh,
out then.
I know. No, you're very cool. I thought you were very cool about it.
Thanks.
I was just like giggling. I thought, yeah, typical. Let's try and get on something and it's not working. But there you go. Anyway, how are you, Dan? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm well. How are you? How's your week been?
Okay. I've tried to be involved in a drive-in event in London, which
Hmm.
hasn't really worked. So apart from that, but it's been interesting. It's been interesting to see people having a go at things. But yeah, it's the usual stuff. It's such a weird time. I mean, it's I know people are saying that. You've become a bit kind of boring saying it. It's such a weird time in these
Isn't it?
difficult times. And it's a weird time. But it is. It is such a kind of outrageously, stonkingly weird time. And
It's just confusing, isn't it? There's
yeah,
no kind of, there's no point of relation for anybody. We can't,
no,
there's no sort of experience that we can take ideas from, you know?
no. Sometimes that's good. I think we're kind of overproduced anyway. Maybe it's time that we had to really think for ourselves and bring up new ideas. I think there's an awful lot of really brilliant music being developed at the moment and lots of
Hmm.
creativity going on. It'll be really interesting to see what comes out of this. I think it's going to be a very exciting time.
I think so. The drive-in event you said, what kind, was it a musical event? Was it like,
No, it wasn't. It was. I mean, basically, it was just using me as in production in a production role, so to suss out a few things. But it was. I think they had a comedy in the evening, and I know Sooty actually appeared at some point. So,
no way.
so I think it was obviously one of my creative high notes doing that. But you have to do what you have to do in a situation like that. But no, it was interesting. Everything was because if any one of the crew get ill, then they have to shut it down completely.
Yeah.
It's really complicated, and in the end, I think it just became. Learned a lot from it though. Learned. We were trying to think of different ways of doing it and stuff, but it was interesting and good on them for having a go. It wasn't our production. It was
Yeah.
someone else's production. But you have to. It's a courageous thing to try and push against things and put your money, their money, into stuff like that. It's
We've got to
difficult.
try these things now because there's nothing else
Yeah.
anyway, is there? You've got to,
No. No. Exactly. And I did use
everybody
footy.
is,
Yeah, which
everybody's
is
on a really steep learning curve, aren't they?
they are. They are. And I mean, the stuff we're getting through the trust is really interesting. I mean, a lot of the queries we're getting is about tech, which I'm not answering that. That you'll be pleased to know, and but also stuff like when people should sign on contracts, what happens with their housing, stuff like that. Real kind of social stuff now, not
So,
just with musicians, but with performing artists as well, and actually
Yeah,
some people from the community too.
that's really cool. So people,
Yeah.
just all sorts of people reaching out to you guys for advice. And
Yeah, I mean, some are people who lost a lot of money because the festival's not happening. That's been a big deal because especially in the area, and wider actually, you know, it probably wouldn't be all of their income, but it would be like a third of their income or 50% of their annual income or less, but it's significant. And, sometimes they just contact us and they just want to talk about the festival. Actually, that's what it ends up being, because something to look forward to, and something from an emotional point of view that they want to talk about. But it's really changed. It's not I think we're sort of just giving, even picked up the phone a couple of times and spoken to people that wanted us to talk to. But we can't do much. I mean, it's not like we don't have any money anymore, I'm afraid. So it's not like a money thing, but it's more of a, if we can share our practical knowledge, then we will do. Or sometimes people just want to talk to us. They come through the info line. That's how they get in touch, and then so it's but it's been interesting to see the change, and how many non-performers are getting in touch with us as well. Just people who live in South Wales. Some from Cardiff and some from from nearby. So it's not necessarily just in the local area. We even have
do you have kind of a circle of festivals you kind of that you're in contact with, and you're all kind of sharing ideas, or?
No, I mean, we talk. It becomes like a bit of a moan fest, doesn't it? When you all sit there. Oh, I'm giving you any money? No. No. I mean, it's sort of like, I mean, we have a very close alliance with WOMAD Festival and Glastonbury, and I think that's, we talk to people a lot in those two events, quite a lot, and there's nothing to say. It's about getting through this year and trying to, we've all got some money, and we kind of run out, when we're going to run out of money. I won't bore you with it. Everyone's talking about money at the moment, but we're not. It's that thing when you start a festival. I think people think that kind of we start it, or we just appear and then we go to sleep and then we wake up. But it's not like that at all. No, I mean, we're planning events 2 years in advance. It's not, Green Man is like a bit of an oil tanker, really. You can't really, which is entirely inappropriate and not a green thing to call it as. But it's
the greatest metaphor.
No, but it's just difficult to. It's just not something we've had. None of us are insured either, so there we go. We would have been insured if festivals had been made illegal to run, but it's just too difficult to run, and that is, I'm sure all the insurance people are skipping away happily with that knowledge. And so we're insured for everything. We're insured for, terrorism, flooding, being visited by who knows who, but that's, not thinking that the pandemic would be something that would mean that events would be made illegal to run is not one of them, seemingly. So so we're all of us are stuck on the money we put in. But I mean,
that was kind of a loophole in the whole insurance thing, was it? That just wasn't one of the things on the list that would pay out?
No, I mean, I think enormous, the big behemoth music industry people are covered, possibly, because they have they've got their cover kind of, it's a global cover for everything. Probably if you lost a hair out your nostril, you'd be covered for that as well. I don't know, but it's with us, it's not like that, and it wasn't even something they kind of suggested, because I think the presumption would be that if that happened, then it would be a cancellation, and the cancellation is then an insured factor in all of this. But it is what it is. I mean, I think a lot of, we're not alone here, a lot of the hospitality industry is like that, and if we all applied I think the idea is if we all applied to insurance organisations, they go under. So it's just not like that. So it's you just have to suck it up and get on with it, really. We're I think I try not to get kind of too blue about it, because otherwise it becomes a habit forming thing, isn't it? You sort of just sit there going, you've got no. So but we've been trying to keep busy and trying to I've been trying to get other work as much as possible, but failing miserably. And
kind of like you said, like consulting on other productions and stuff.
And we applied for the national NHS. We tried to work with them, but I ended up. I think I've not worked with people for a long time, so I end up just telling them everything they need, and they say, "Oh, thanks then." Okay. I don't think I'm doing this very well. So, I mean, you can't. I mean, obviously you want to help and everything, so you're in a bit of a pickle. You can't just say, "But I gave you all that information. Please help me. Please pay me." So it's. I think it's just about. I mean, how I got through the last recession is I got another job. We worked on a big kind of arts event, and we got some money from that. But there's just no other jobs at the moment. There's nothing that we can diversify into. I mean, lots of the team are working on other things, not to do with the industry. They're working on. Some of them are working in Tesco's, or they're working in areas or packing places or doing what they can. But it's the timing, isn't it? The time you have to do to.
Yeah, and that's
when's it going to change? Yeah.
The whole industry is just.
We're all paused.
Yeah, there's nowhere you can shift to or anything like that, and I mean, Ben booking, like he can't be booking really, I guess, can he?
Well, I mean, he is. I mean, Ben's always looking at music. I mean, he's just constantly. Yeah. He's very, and I'm very proud of him for that. He's very old school. He doesn't just kind of, he does a lot of research on the artists. He likes to see them play live. He's, and there is discussions with acts. I mean, the artists themselves and the agencies are, they don't know what they're doing. Who's, if people are going to be able to come. There's the issue of Brexit as well, which we haven't even counted on. A lot of the international artists find it, we don't actually know how they're going to come to Britain, and that is an issue. How are they coming on work visas? And at the moment, it's easier to book an American act than it would be to book someone from Italy.
And that's really saying something, because that's difficult as well.
It is. I mean, it's a very unclear idea, and all these things which should have been addressed have obviously been put aside by the more serious issue of Brexit, of COVID rather. But hopefully, I do think from another point of view, I think it means that people will be looking more at homegrown talent as well, and I think that's a great opportunity for artists in Wales and the rest of the United Kingdom to think about that, as an opportunity, because people, you need to be reassured you've got a lineup. So I mean, I'm hoping that will be the case, and I hope that will be the case with everything. Actually, I'm hoping that we'll start really looking to ourselves to, produce creativity, and in other areas, manufacturing and produce as well.
I think becoming more self-sufficient in every way would be a great thing to come out of all of this, for sure.
Yeah, and also, celebrating homegrown success as well. It's not all about globalization or, bringing some enormous manufacturing. I mean, if you look at the problems with COVID and getting some of the kit that they had to get, I mean, a lot, there seemed to be a lot of confusion about that. If there was more of a network with people bringing in stuff in Wales, or it would have counteracted and brought things in quicker, put it that way. But I mean, there's lots to be learned about this. It's I hope it won't be like the recession. The recession things got a lot worse and a lot more divided. I hope that this will bring in some positivity and some really joined up practical solutions, you know, really positive.
Yeah, it feels different to me. It feels like, obviously you can't tell, but I feel like we were saying before, that a lot of things have changed. People are looking at things in a different way. Even if it's looking at their own lives in a different way. You know, if they're treating themselves better, hopefully you'd like to think they'd treat other people better. And yeah, there's always going to be, like we said before, there's always going to be dickheads around. But
Yeah.
people are, yeah, things have changed for sure. Just hope it sticks.
I think there's a habit of, it's a bit like I was saying before, there's a habit of being negative, and I think that there are, I mean, you know, I've been running large events for many, many years, and I have to say, in all that time, it's only a tiny amount of people that are always, that are difficult. You know,
Hmm.
always, in every event, I've run some more kind of hedonistic events than the Green Man, and, you know, the reality is it's just a tiny number, it's just they've got a very, very loud voice.
Hmm.
And, you know, it's not, you can kind of, you know, it's always like this, it's always negative, it's always difficult. It isn't, you know, it's just, you know, it's a hard time now, but it's not going to last. And, you know,
No, exactly. There's a
I
comment
don't,
here, Fiona, says forced innovation can be positive. I don't know if you can read that on your screen there.
I had to put my glasses on, I was very vain, I wouldn't want to wear my glasses, but now I am. So my
Yeah,
son
forced
about
innovation.
how vain. Forced can be positive. Yes, yeah, I agree with that. I
Absolutely.
think it's, I mean, if you look at, I mean, it's an awful way for it to have happened, but, you know, the National Health Service came out of the Second World War.
Mm.
And, you know, sometimes you can be very deluded by everything that's going on in the world. I mean, in fact, I mean, part of the way, you know, I like to see the Green Man is to move that away. I mean, that's the reason we don't have sponsorship, because I don't want, you know, one of the biggest areas you can get sponsorship is in the children's area. And I don't want someone selling kids to children. I don't want,
Yeah.
you know, and also that delusion of it all. You know, it's, you know, I want people to feel real at the Green Man, you know, that they're really eating something nice, or they're really, you know, seeing their friends, they're really having a good time. They're really,
Yeah.
you know, because I think that just carries a weight on it for longer, which is fantastic. And that's, you know, and I think that's, you know, why the music acts is, and all the entertainment as well, apart from the music, is very, you know, we're very into, you're there for a reason. You know, you're there because
Yeah, it
you're
really does feel like, I know I've said this to you before, it really does feel like as a result of that, you go into, as soon as you cross the threshold and you're in those fields and on those grounds, you feel for the duration that you're there, that you're in this, it's like a safe space, it's like a separate little world, and you really do have amazing experiences. And not having those big advertisements on the wall of Coke or whatever, you're allowed to just feel and smell and taste and be with the people you're with. It really is like an amazing experience. It's easily my favorite festival for sure.
Oh, thanks, Dan. I'll pay you later, but thank you very much. No, I mean, you know, I'm glad you said that. But I mean, I think I used to work at a festival called the Big Chill that doesn't, you know, exist anymore, and that had a very beautiful vibe at one time, and I just saw it being corroded away all the time,
Hmm.
and I left there and, a few years before it stopped running, and at the time it was an amazingly successful event. And I think that's the danger of it all. You know, I think that the people who owned it, made choices for financial reasons and positive, you know, possibly choices I'd have made actually if I'd seen it going, to be fair to them. But you have to be so careful with what you have as a brand, because it's, brand sounds so harsh, but it, as an experience that you promise to people, it's like a promise, isn't it? You promise a kind of
Yeah.
unique experience to people, and you have to keep on coming up with the goods. And it's hard, you know. It's not. It's, you know, it's really difficult to keep it going. But I've got to. I work with. I'm going to take my glasses off because I'm paying.
Yeah, go for
They
it.
actually they hurt. They hurt my thing. That's my excuse anyway. They, you know, I work with a really, really great group of people, and that widens out when I come to come to the festival, and that's and they're very into it. I mean, I kind of swan around now. I don't have to do much at all. They kind of like just get me a gin. I want gin now. And that's it. But no, it's yeah, I miss them. And I miss the festival a lot. And I miss the people who come to the event incredibly. And it's sort of, well, I mean, like you feel about your music, Dan. It's our kind of thing we create. And we're very kind of motivated by the enjoyment of others on what we do. That's where we get our kind of thrill, like you do with your audience. And and it's kind of, we had all this stuff that was ready to go, and like, well, no one wants to see it. No one's there.
Oh.
Are you okay? Can you see me?
Oh no. Oh, sorry, I lost you for a second then.
Okay.
I've got you back.
All right, that's good. But yeah, we're just kind of plodding on to next year and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
And seeing what happens, like lots of people. So.
Do you have kind of, I know obviously, everything's up in the air, but are you kind of planning on hopefully doing a lot of the things you wanted to do this year, next year, or you think things change slightly, or?
I think we're going to be pushing Black Lives Matter issue matters a lot to all of us, and I think there's going to be a lot of training within once I have the resources to do it, but there's going to be a retraining of the whole of the management team on that matter, and we're also going to try and involve it more in the event. I think it's I mean, Ben has been trying actually for a while to bring in different genres of music as well, and I think that's something that I just suddenly kind of woke up about it over this and just thought I'm not doing enough, and I need to do more, and it was that was a shared thing. So I think that's going the kind of content. I think yes, we'll probably do the same. There'll be some slight changes, but and we'll be doing other things as well. But I think the kind of messages that we wanted to bring in before, I think that's kind of be ramped up quite a lot, and we're thinking about new ways of doing it. It's very difficult because we don't have a budget at the moment.
Yeah.
So we don't know how. I think the intention's there, and there's been some discussions amongst us, but because I mean, ultimately, we want to bring in aspects of race, and we want to bring in, and we do. I mean, we do, but I don't know. I don't feel we're doing it with the understanding that we should have at this point. We need to work on that.
Yeah, you could feel you could do it with more purpose and intent. Maybe.
Yes. We need to understand it more. There are things that we don't understand, actually, and we need to learn more, and we're going to be doing that. But that's more like an internal structure thing. But that usually, when that comes out, I mean, we had a kind of a similar kind of feeling about accessibility a few years ago, and completely changed that within the organisation. It might not be part of the entertainment or anything like that, but it meant that an awful lot more people with disability could attend, and that was, I learned things from that which I had no idea about. It was. No,
I think I actually noticed last year. I think I actually did notice a lot more people attending with some sort of, at least I saw a lot of people with a physical disability, maybe a lot more people maybe with a wheelchair or at the festival than I'd noticed before, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, I think it's, it should be accessible to all, and it should be a situation. We do things, it's sometimes there are things we can't do. I mean, we have quite a lot of families, say, with children with special needs who we can accommodate in the settlement, the area before the festival starts, where some of the families come every year and they want to be in exactly the same place as they were the year before. And, we can do that, we just can't do it once the festival you know, when the festival starts, too many cars, too much going on, and you know, that's the other thing. I'd really like to make it. I mean, it's, you know, we can only do much to that site because it's not our site, and you know, and we run out of railway carriages and trains. I couldn't understand why there wasn't more railway tickets. Naturally, it's because we run out of carriages in Abergavenny, so that's the reason. So I did try, but they can't put any more carriages on the train. So
Really? Oh my God.
yeah. So we are up to it. But you know, it's sort of it's kind of, and we also have the thing that we do this. We really want people to leave the site as well and go to the local area, and you know, it's difficult without a car to do that. So you know, that whole thing when people, they have their thing called the Green Man Moments. Have you heard of this?
Green Man
Moments, where they do this
No.
special moment. It's like a, you know, they'll walk up Penny Fan, or they will go to the, you know, they'll go to the local pubs, their favourite pubs like the Bear or the Star at Taliban's or something, and they will go to those places, and that's their thing that they do.
What, like groups of people?
Yeah, groups of people, and they have their you know, or they'll go, you know, and you know, a lot of them actually, especially in the settlement, will actually go and do the rural pursuits in the air. Rural pursuits, that sounds a bit jingle. It's, well, you know, they go pony trekking, or you know, all the other things. I mean, there's so much around there. I don't know.
Is that a part of the festival? Is that organised by you guys, or is that just an?
No, some of it is. Some of it we reached out to people and said, because what happened is when people came and they asked, and then the local organiser said, well, can you tell us in advance? Because, you know, we'd really like to take advantage of it, but we didn't have enough staff to deal with it. So now we try and get them to contact those I mean, some of them, I didn't know this, but some of them went on the, what's the thing that when you, aeroplanes with no engines, you know, gliders. There's a gliding school in Talgarth, and some of them went up there. I don't know. You know, I just thought they'd go to the places we said, but no, they're out.
I know I'll do it next time I go to Green Man.
Yeah, I know, go there. But they do. I mean, they go to West Wales and surf. Some of them, and mostly the ones who are actually at the festival. It's usually the ones in the settlement, and then people stay on later, and they see family. There's lots of kind of groups that meet each other, and you know, just go off. And
that's great that the festival brings all of that extra kind of commerce to the surrounding area as well. It's not just its own little thing.
No, I mean, you know, any festival that where people have access in and out, usually, you know, the ones that kind of, you know, you go in, once you go out, you can't go back in. It's less so, but
yeah.
No, I mean, it's yeah, it's good. You know, it's a good thing. You know, it's part of the vibe. It's nice, and it's sort of part of the ethos too, to enable opportunities to people. So it's a good. You know, I think people pick up on that vibe, and I hope so. They like it. But
has the festival always been on that same site?
No, it wasn't. It's been on 2 different sites actually. I mean, I didn't start the festival. It started by other people than me, you know, and what they did is they had it for 3 years, and then it like a lot of events, to be fair to them, went. It used to be in Baskerville Hall. Do you remember Baskerville Hall in Hay on Wye?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was running the Big Chill, which is in Hereford. It wasn't actually that far away. And they got in touch with me because their event was Green Man wasn't doing very well, and I got involved at that point, and I basically, you know, started developing it and doing things, and I moved it to Glanus. Wow. And then and when I went to Glanus, it literally was a farm. They had you know, it was you know, the walled garden. It was a pigsty.
Was it?
Yeah. And the area behind the, you know, the amphitheatre down to the mountain stage, that was sort of, it was like someone's back garden. There'd been an elderly lady who lived in the house, and that was her garden at the back. And the owner at the time, he's not the owner anymore, he was like driving me around really, really fast in this Land Rover. And poor, you know, Nush, who works with me, he was much younger then. He was in the back, being the young, you know, and I was in the car. And he dropped. And I remember sort of seeing Nush's face in the back window, go squished up. And he just took us down to what must have been the former Deer Park, which is the bit at the bottom where the Green Man Radio is and where the camping is.
Oh yeah.
And he just didn't even think that we'd want anything else, I don't think. And then we went past this house, which was, I must admit, it doesn't look like it does now. And I don't know, we went past it and I could see the what was going on, and I could see the views and everything. And I just thought, well, let's have a look. And I went down, and even then it was hard to imagine it being what it's turned into be, because it literally was, you know, full of old shrubs and, you know, and anyway, we dug it out and
that's a ton itself.
yeah, yeah, and you know, we dug it out and changed it. There was a pond in front of the, I mean, as if you need any more water at Green Man, quite frankly. and there was a pond in front of the stage, and we had to dig that in, and it took ages for the walled garden to come back. We had to returf it and do loads to it. Yeah, but
there was a pond in front of the mountain stage.
Yeah, there was a massive pond, a big circular thing. That was filled in, and it had a leak in it to add thingy to injury. So the whole place was like a swamp. And it's funny. I mean, I can't even imagine what it looked like then, but it was completely different to how it looks like now.
And when was that?
2005, 2006, we did that. I mean, you know, I moved it then. I mean, when it was at, you know, basically when you do events at Basketball Hall, they run the bars and they do a lot. You know, they do a lot of the stuff there. So you just bring in your event. It's a lovely place. I used to run events there with the Big Chill actually, and it's a great venue. But it's just with the opportunity that, you know, it's better on a greenfield site, so like a big greenfield site, and you couldn't anyway for lots of reasons we need to move it actually. And when we went there, it was just like that first year, and you suddenly saw it really coming together. And that year I ran the Big Chill and the Green Man in the same year.
Oh my god!
and I, you know, because I would put my, you know, it's my money to start it up. So, and a lot of the team came over from the Green Man, from the Big Chill, and helped as well, and lots of favours as well. But you know, it was really very, very touch and go. And then, but it came together, and it grew from, you know, I think we you know, really pushed it, and it grew from, I don't know how big it was at basketball. It wasn't very big, and it grew to, we had 6,000 people. It grew from I think it was probably about 6,000 people in that year.
No way.
It was incredible. It was just, you know, I think that there wasn't, you know, it was a timing thing as well. There weren't loads of events. You know, with the people who started it, it had got a fair amount of press, but it wasn't just that. It was you know, it was the site. It was, you know, we got new people involved in pushing it as well, and you know, a number of things. The stars were aligned really. And
that first year then, did you just have it where the mountain stage is, and it was just that area, or do you have other parts? No,
we did. We initially had what they had in when the event was at Basketball Hall. We had I forgot what they were. They were different areas. There wasn't really. I mean, there wasn't a science area really, or a you know, there wasn't the talking shop area. They weren't called. None of them were called the same thing. The stage was a stage. There wasn't any named spaces. There wasn't any comedy. There wasn't any. You know, there was a bit of children's stuff, but not much. And it was just very different. We had the Folky Dokey stage. Remember that? It was all. I mean, you know, we came. You know, the Big Chill was a electronic music festival, and at that point, the Green Man was very folk as well.
Yeah.
And although it was great, I mean, I remember going out the first time, I did a boat party to kind of launch it on the Thames. And I remember the band, I can't remember who the band was. It was, oh, the Seasick Steve who came on. And he is actually
Amazing.
seasick. Seasick. And he wouldn't come on the boat.
I saw an interview with him, and they asked him why he's called
Oh,
C6 Steve, and he just said, "I don't like boats."
yeah. He wouldn't get on the boat. He booked him for this boat. He knew it was a boat.
Oh my
And
god.
he came on the boat with me and sort of held on to me all the way up into the boat, and then said, "I can't do this," and we'll leave. And it was a great event. But what I noticed was everyone sat down, and I was like, you know, I come from a dance background, and I was like,
Yeah.
why are people? Was there something wrong?
Yeah.
Why are people sitting down? And but it was great. You know, we had. You know, we brought in kind of different kinds of styles of music as well, and you know, you know, and I think that was great. And actually, Steve played at the Green Man a few years later, and he's such a character. He just sat in the artist liaison box office, saying hello to people with a bottle of whiskey in his hand.
Of course he did.
And just enjoying being around everyone, the
Have you
vibe.
seen
And
the video of him driving his John Deere around the O2?
no, I've never seen that, so I'd like to see that. It'd be
It's,
funny.
it's on YouTube, and it was his show at the O2, and he'd, I presume on the back of a truck, brought his John Deere. He bought a brand new John Deere with some of his new money, and brought it to the O2, and he was driving it around the backstage area, and people were just like, "Who the hell is this guy driving?"
He does like he just likes the vibe, you know. He likes.
Yeah.
I think he was super cool, but I think he actually enjoyed that thing when people walked past and they saw him. They were, oh, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I was kind of teasing him about the time he was on the boat. He sort of said, "I'm not going to remember that," you know. And I do. He was top of the bill as well. But anyway, he's so charming and lovely and talented. You just forgive.
There's another comment here saying, "I saw C6 Steve at the Big Chill when I was 14."
Oh my goodness! Oh, God. No,
Amazing.
I know. Well, the Big Chill was yeah, very different event, but it was lovely. It was a lovely event, a lovely place too. So it's yeah, C60 was definitely one of my favourite acts that played Green Man and Big Chill.
Can you remember the first year then? Can you remember anybody who played that year?
Thanks. Who can I
Over that
remember?
one.
Yeah, exactly. Donovan played that year.
No way.
Donovan played that year, and he
Ah,
dressed up as the Green Man. He was
of
wearing
course
a
he
green.
did.
He was wearing a green jacket, and no, he was amazing. I can't really remember. I
I saw him play.
remember being mostly terrified that year because it was the first festival we done. So I was like, kind of,
I can imagine.
yeah.
No, I saw Donovan play a few years back, and he played the entire set barefoot, sat down at the front of the stage, and the microphone stand was off the stage so that it was at his mouth level, and then he was sat on like a big pillow for the whole thing, and then he opened with Colours, and then more or less played an entire set of the most obscure folk music anybody had ever heard. It was great, but like most people had never heard of any of these songs. And then there was a middle interval, bless him, and the guy one of his tech had to come on and lift him up because he couldn't get up, and then came off, and then came back on, did another like 45 minutes, an hour. It was incredible. It was really good, really good.
I mean, he is really. I mean, it's lovely when you see people like that who really love to perform, you know, and he does love to, he really does love to perform. You know, he's, I mean, we have had, I mean, I think the most, well, gosh, we've had some iconic bands, but I think the one that really touches me is Pentangle when they played, because it was the last, I think, I don't know if it was live, it might be the last outdoor performance that they did. And yeah, and they were so, you know, they were very frail when they played, and it was a very wet Green Man. And they were just such troopers. They just, it was very soggy. We didn't have, we didn't exactly have in those days, some fantastic VIP green room or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just, and they loved it. They just, we got them really, they could choose, all the headliners can choose whatever food they want from any of the traders. And they just sort of sat there surrounded by food. But really, having a giggle, and there was lots of banter between them. As much as, I wouldn't disrespect the artists, I wouldn't, get involved with that. You could see that they really liked each other.
Yeah.
It was just really lovely. And when they played, it was the end of an era, really, with them. But no, it was fantastic. It's one of the things, one of the many bands I'm really proud played Green Man, but they were fantastic.
Are there any other artists or performers or anything that have played that like them that you've just been so surprised at how gracious they are or how lovely they are?
We tend to get nice acts. There's only one person, and you'll have to prize that name out of my but it's I think possibly because people played Green Man for not just the money.
Yeah.
Let's face it, we're not up there with, we're not Live Nation or something like that. We tend to get really lovely acts. We get, I don't know, really. We've had a bit of naughtiness in the past, but nothing mean-spirited or, nothing. I really can't think of anything, actually, apart from
There are
just
so
one
many
person.
I'll ask you off, Cameron. There are so many acts that I've seen come across that mountain stage that have said at some point during their set that coming to Green Man feels like coming home, or that they just love it. They love coming to play Green Man. I remember seeing the War on Drugs play.
Yeah, sorry about that. My thing's going.
That's
Oh,
right.
right, yeah.
The War on Drugs play, and I think the first words that came out of Adam's mouth before he played a note was, "It's so good to be home." And it's just it really does. You can see, and I think as a result of that feel and that kind of sort of harmony you guys create, the performances, you get some of the best performances out of the artists, I think, because they're so comfortable. There's a beautiful space,
I think you're right. I mean, I don't know about I think we've definitely been I've seen some of those acts play on different places, and there's something there's something incredibly magical about the mountain stage, and actually not every performer or artist can play on that stage. That's a reality. You need to have you need to have a something that can handle it, because in the past, again, not mentioning, you've had acts on that stage and it gets swamped by it. It's something you really have to kind of.
It's a big stage.
Yeah, it's a big stage and it's a big backdrop, and it's very the whole thing, the whole kind of natural aspect of it, because that combination. Music is a wonderful thing, but performance is another thing, and it's complementary to that. And having an artist who has that within them, that's like an amazing. And I have seen. I mean, Ben's more, knowledgeable about things like that than me. But for me, I just like. I'm not a backstage person. I like standing with the crowd.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, so it's much better vibe.
Last year. Oof.
Oh, amazing.
Blew my mind. What a set. Because I'd seen him play in, I think it was the same year or the year before, seen him play in Cardiff Student Union. And it was incredible, but it was just a whole different beast on that stage. And he has such a, he's got such a pedigree coming from the Fleet Foxes and everything. He already knows how to perform, but he's just he can just fill any space. He's amazing.
That's a very good way to describe it, filling that space. I think that's, that it's kind of quite a dramatic stage, to be on. And, you know, with other stages, ultimately you're on a stage. You know, there are some stages which are, you know, they're a stage, but they're in a festival and it's a stage. You know, and you know, I think the combination of you know, the scenery and actually even sometimes the rain adds to the drama of the situation. I mean, when PJ Harvey played, I mean, it was great. We were at one with nature. I mean, literally, she came on, and this grey cloud came over, and it was like, you know, it was like someone was twiddling their knobs to get the clouds to come on. It was just amazing. I was like, great, you know. It's the first time in my life I've actually kind of smiled when I see the cloud of Green Man. But it was very dramatic, and she was just the artist to, you know, there was like a symbiotic kind of magic in that performance. It was amazing. She liked it too. You know, it was, you can see, it's when people come on tours. I mean, you know, as an artist yourself, every time you perform, you give so much of yourself to people. People, sometimes I don't think people understand that. And so when people arrive in tour buses, you know, they're tired. You know, they're exhausted, and you know, sometimes we'll do things like we'll wash their clothes, or we'll, you know, get them toys for their kids that they've forgotten to get while on the tour, or we'll, you know, it's not all, you know, orchids and white carpets and, you know, I don't know, you know, unicorn pillows. I don't know. You know, it's actually a straightforward thing of making sure people feel looked after, and they're allowed to rest enough before their performance. And you know, that's why we have really strict kind of, you know, no one can go there. They've got to be left on their own. You know, if they want something, we give them a list of things that people can want, you know, they can have. And then we just leave people to, and we have like a group of people who look after them. But a lot of the time, they just want to just catch their breath before the performance, before that another great outpouring of energy and spirit. You know, it's you know, I think, you know, artists who tour are amazing. You know, I couldn't do that. I couldn't stand on a stage and every night be literally giving my soul out to the universe and then go to bed and get up in the morning. I mean, incredibly exciting and wonderful as it is, it does drain people. You know, I can see it. And you have to be pretty gritty to just keep on getting up there and doing it. I mean, you know, it is amazing.
All those little bits and bobs, you know, like all those bits you were saying about what you do at the festival makes such a massive difference. If you're on a massive tour, the tiniest little thing makes such a huge difference if it just eases your day slightly, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it is, it's amazing. I mean, I've Wayne from Flaming Lips, who's, you know, absolutely fastidiously, you know, likes everything he wants. He arrived, and he, you know, he brings a lot of people with him, and we took over. I think there was a pub nearby, the Nantippin Cider Mill, which is just opposite the Green Man, and the whole of his tour went there, and they really, and that, you know, when he arrived, he was really, you know, I didn't see him properly, but when I arrived, you could tell that the whole group was like kind of, you know, they were walking around in their sheep outfits, looking, you know, sad and worn. And when they came out, they were really cheery and they loved it, and so did, you know, so did the pub. But it was, they just were completely, they just needed, you don't, it's not always about giving, you know, posh watches and, you know, the rest of it. It's sometimes it's just about a bit of practical support.
Absolutely. We've got, sorry to interrupt, I'm very aware that the clock is running down, and I don't want Instagram to just cut you off. So firstly, just in case it does cut you off, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
No, it's fine, Dan. No,
it's so kind of you.
No, it's a pleasure, and good for you to start this up. I mean, it's great. It's lovely seeing things like this happening.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, good.
And it's also, I have got I mean, I had a bunch of questions for you. So many people were interested. I've just noticed on here though that Beth and Elfin's asked a couple of questions.
Okay.
From the Horizons account. She said, um, always a great crew on site too. Does the wider community feel like family to Fiona? And also would love to hear a bit about the trust work.
Yes, the wider community does. Well, the wider community is part of the Green Map, really. The ones that
Mm.
are involved. I don't see any difference between what's going on. The trust work is something. Well, the trust's been going for years now, since 2013. I mean, the biggest thing I suppose that we'd be doing is the Green Man Rising competition, which
Mm.
is
That's my
massive
first
now.
trip.
Yeah, it is really massive now, and it gets lots and lots of people. I mean, I think that's a thing which engages people with, because people who judge on that, it's free to take part, and but the people who judge it have to be currently in the positions which manage or associated with the music industry. So they have to be like national involved in press, or they have to be working in management or in as agents or A&R, and they have to be, so they're people who have people there already. So we wanted to give them, the people involved in Green Man Rising, I mean, when years and years ago, an artist used to go out, and there were so many venues that over the time they were touring, and they were touring constantly, they'd meet someone from the press, another band, or A&R or whatever. And now they don't meet people like that because they're not touring the same way. And
Mm.
this gives them a chance to get that kind of professional kind of feeling of working, seeing those people in one room. And the finalists, we have about, I mean, we used to get people from outside the UK, but I can't afford to pay for them to come. So it's just UK only. And, the finalists, there's a final thing of, I think we have 25 out of, but I think last year we had 1,700 people apply, 1,700 acts.
Whoa.
And the last, it goes up to 25 and then 5, and the final 5 perform in front of those judges in a live performance, which unfortunately we won't be able to do this year.
Mm.
And they choose, all the acts play on the Green Man Rising stage, with other acts as well. It's not just the Green Man Rising acts that are on that stage. And the winner opens the mountain stage. They're the first band on the mountain stage as they open.
That is so cool.
And there's a lot of agents, a lot of music industry come to Green Man. I mean, we had 22 members of CAA come one year, not every year, but they do come. We've got Spotify there and people like that. So I think there's a lot of interest in the bands who perform because I think we've got a bit of a reputation as a headline maker. So it's people are keen to come in and do that. But I mean, bar that, we support other forms of art, performance art and arts installation as well, and all the kind of stuff you see at the Green Man, really. And but we also support science engagement as well, the understanding of science, which is more to do with a greener issue thing. And we support communities in Wales who are not supported in some way. Like we raised about £16,000 for the victims of the, it seems a long time ago, for the victims of floods, yeah. And that was the money raised. Most of it supported by the festival, really. But and we do things like we work with kids from Merthyr. We've been doing that for, gosh, must be 10 years now. So we train kids from Merthyr to use the handheld cameras, on the stage.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and it's not just a training thing. It's more like an immersive opportunity. So it's to develop confidence and communication skills.
I had no idea. That's awesome.
I think something like a festival or something like Green Man as well, if you bring people who feel they're finding difficulties in the world and you bring them into a team,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so they wear the crew t-shirt, they sit with the team, they work with the team, they become part of the group, and it does an amazing thing for people's confidence and communication skills. And we also work with the Oasis Refugee Centre, so we actually train former refugees who so they come in. I mean, they have an area, but with charities, I like charities who are proactive, who do something, and we also work with Salvation Army, with people who are going through they go through stages of Salvation Army. So if they've got addiction problems, so they come to the Green Man, and they're very strict. If one person sort of goes off and has a drink or something, then they will have to leave. But they work, they work in and with a group and it's the same thing. It's a confidence thing. You know, it's training in as well, but it's also feeling part of something and feeling like
like a sense of purpose as well.
And a connectivity.
Massive difference.
You know, you're getting people who've been in horrific situations like, you know, war-torn countries like Syria and other places, who are working at the festival with other people their own age with, you know, and it sort of stops that kind of idea of them and us thing. You know, they're just people wanting to have a laugh, you know, and that's the same. I mean, I've seen such amazing. I mean, I saw this guy, one of the first people from the Merthyr group. He had a few issues, and he found it really difficult to come to the Green Man. You know, it was a very courageous thing he did to come to the festival, because it was so difficult for him from a social point of view. And anyway, I went past the mountain stage and I saw this guy on the stage, and I know the crew, and I thought, who is this guy? Because when he first came, he was like really white and really pale and nervous and everything. And there was this bloke on the stage. I mean, you could see he was like really holding the camera tight to see his knuckles. And it was this kid, yeah. To go from I'm not going to camp and I'm only eating white food and I don't like anything here and I don't want to be here, to standing on the mountain stage filming an artist. I mean, okay, it was an afternoon, but it was just such a inspiringly courageous thing to see someone do that. You know, I mean,
and those are the kind of things that stay with people for life, man. Really. Oh my God.
I mean, Jimmy Check, you know, it did. You know, he might not ever work at a festival. He might not ever see that as a career, but it did change. Actually, it did change his life. When he went back, you know, he started doing an access course in film, and you know, I think he works now in the film industry. I think for Bad Wolf, actually. So it did change his life. You know, and that doesn't just take us. That also takes the amazing audience that come to Green Man. You know, they are fantastic. There's definitely festivals I've been involved in that I could never do that to. You know, that just wouldn't be appropriate to bring vulnerable people into. You know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Green Man, I think it's a safe space feel. I mean, there's plenty of festivals I've played, and I'm sure there's plenty of festivals you've been to and worked with that are just kind of a bit insane.
Well, they're insane, and you know, it's also that. You know, I think it's that really welcoming thing you get in Wales as well. I think there's a kind of warmth about it, which is, there's lots of banter, and you know, I get the mickey taken out of me dreadfully when I go into Crickham. Yeah, so it's you know, not muddy today. Oh, it's not raining. Oh, okay then. Yeah. But it's not but it's very warm, you know, and I think people appreciate it. Are we off?
I'm sorry, we've got 24 seconds and they're going to cut us off.
Okay, Dan. Well, this has been amazing.
Thank you so much, Fiona. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's been fun. Don't worry. Well done for doing this. Well done. It's good.
Thank you, and I hope we get to chat in the flesh.
Real life. Yes. Totally. Okay.
I'll take care, and I'll speak to you soon.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you so much.